Alright, what's going on, guys? So today we're working on the engine. Gonna show you possibly me painting it and then putting the crankshaft in, getting the pistons set up, and then also getting the pistons installed. I'm still waiting on the heads and the cams I should say, to get back from the machine shop, but while we're waiting for that, doesn't mean we can't get started on the rest of the lower block. So yeah, stay tuned, and hope you guys enjoy these videos.
Check it out.
Alright, got the block painted up, still drying, but looks a lot better. Gonna have a little bit of overspray to clean up, but not too much. It's looking pretty good. Just got this back from the machine shop yesterday. It's all cleaned up, honed, ready to go. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and get these freeze plugs put in here. So easiest way to do it, grab a freeze plug, grab a socket that's just a little bit smaller than the inside diameter of your plug, so it'll help you when you go to drive it in. So before I do that though, I'm gonna take the air hose, blast out the area a little bit more while I still have good access. Make sure there's nothing left in here. Should be relatively clean. And yeah, so try to do this with a rubber mallet. Don't know if that's going to work. If not, I'll grab a little bit better hammer, but we'll give this a shot real fast. So let's start on this one, and I don't know if you can see this, but there's numbers or lettering on here. It says 35 millimeter for the inside of this casting hole. So these are casting plugs or freeze plugs, depending on who you're talking to. But I'm going to try to make this look somewhat professional, so I'm going to try to get these where the numbers are lined up. If you grab a socket though, it will help you, because then you can kind of see what you're doing and get everything nicely lined up. Yeah, it just makes it look professional. right. So, hit it down a little bit. And the goal is to make sure you get this in here as straight as possible. And this just doesn't have enough force, so we'll grab a bigger hammer. Bigger is always better, right? Sure. And then when you go to hammer these in, you're just going to want to go just past the chamfer. Almost there. Yep, there we go. So kind of show you what we're working with. So if you notice, I got that, it's pretty straight up and down. So we'll go ahead and do the rest of them. Yeah, there's a little bit of rust in there. You're not going to get rid of that. As soon as it gets washed and the air hits it, it starts to rust out, but that's not going to be an issue. That's just some light surface rust. But so yeah, we'll go ahead and do the rest of these and then go to the other side. All right, there we go. So all nice and even, looks real professional. So we'll go ahead and turn the block around and then do the other side. All right, there you go. All lined up, all seated in there. They all look good. So that's how you install the freeze plugs. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these main bearings kind of situated in place. One thing you want to note that there's two different sizes. One's wider than the other one, if you can see that. So this wider one's going to go to that very front block or front main journal on the block, and then the rest of these will just go in each one of these places right here. So these have a tang on them on this part right here. Then you'll see that there's going to be a groove where these are going to fit into place. So all you have to do is take them and then kind of line them up where they go, and then carefully get them ready to slide into place. And also one thing to note, that there's going to be a hole on the ones that go on the block side, and then the side that's actually going to go on the girdle is not going to have holes. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. Then once you have them in here, make sure they're flush and the holes are lined up nice and even, and then you don't have anything sticking up on one side or the other. It's going to make sure that you get good oil flow when you go to start it up. And then for this, I'm just going to use some Lucas Assembly lube. Nothing crazy. You don't need it on the back side of the bearings, obviously, but you will need it on the inside of the bearing where it rides on the crankshaft journal. Yeah, just put a liberal amount on there. You don't have to get too crazy with it, but you do want to have oil on there because it's the only oil it's going to have is for when it first starts up. right. All right, so got the crank here. Gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna lightly coat the journals with some oil as well, and then go ahead and put that in there. All right. Then I'm just going to carefully push that thrust washer back down so it's even. There we go. Perfect. Right there. All right. So thrust washers are in there. That's all oiled up. All right, start putting the bolts in. Just get them situated for the moment. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start snugging these down a little bit. Not gonna get them super tight, just kind of start working them in. That way it helps seat it, and then we'll go ahead and start torquing. The torque sequence, if this is the front of the engine, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe, yeah, that is correct after looking at the book. So I'm just gonna go ahead, start getting these threaded in here. All right, and then the torque on these is 45 foot-pounds. And then once you torque them, then it'll be an additional 90 degrees. So what it tells you to do is, wants you to mark the front of the bolt and then turn it 90 degrees to make sure that it's right. All right, so we're gonna start from here. And then of course it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, and then 8. and I'll just let those sit for a minute or two, and then I'll go back over them and double check that they're good. In the meantime, I'm gonna find a marker to mark the bolts with. All right, so we're gonna try a Sharpie first and see if that'll work. If not, I'll see if I can find my paint pen. So we'll go back over this, make sure that they're good. That one's good. That's good. All right, so now what we're gonna do is mark the front of each one of these, and then we're just gonna do 90 degrees. And then marking it just helps you make sure that you got them right. All right, so we're gonna try to get that on here straight as we can. And we're just gonna go 90 degrees, so another quarter turn. And we'll check it a little bit further. Almost there. And that's 90. That's 90. All right, so now all these are lined up 90 degrees, quarter turn. So that's how you know that you should be good. So we'll go ahead and rotate the crank. Rotates freely. It's not binding, so we are good. Look at that. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start getting the rings on the pistons. So these are pretty clean. They should be good to go. they already have a very small amount of oil on there, probably from the assembly, but might help to have a ring installation plier kind of help you out with this. That way you can get these on. Not going to need them for your oil rings. So on your oil rings, you're going to have one on the bottom. Then you're going to have this oil ring here that's going to go in the middle, and then you'll have another one of these on top. These ones aren't marked, which is the top or the bottom. If they have writing, usually the writing will go to the top of the piston, not the bottom. So we'll go ahead and start putting these on. So you got to be kind of careful when you do this, because you don't want to break them. But what you're going to do is just kind of pin it in here, and then just kind of carefully walk them on without breaking them or stretching them out any further. Okay, so you need to take the oil ring, and what they recommend in the step is to take the split or the gap, and you're going to have that go over the centered over the wrist pin right over here. So try and get this one on here. And now I don't know for sure, I don't think it matters if it goes up or down or one way or the other. I'll double check here. Yeah, I don't think that really matters. So we're going to go ahead and get the oil rings in here like so. Kind of hold that down and then carefully put that in place. All right, then the next one is going to go on the bottom. So this is kind of a tricky little thing to get in here. But there we go. We're just going to carefully work this down inside of here. Again, being careful not to stretch these out. All right. And then just like that. So then you want to, on the first one, after you get that lined up, you want this ring to be offset. So this one's going to be right over here. And then you want to keep that from moving. And then the two open ends right there. So I don't know how well you can see this, but the open end's going to be here. Then you're going to have the split that goes above the wrist pin like so. So they'll be lined up like that. And then the second one is going to be over here on this side with the gap. And then we'll just go ahead, try and pre-position this one like so. These are a little snug. Just like that. And then you're going to carefully start working this around, making sure it goes inside of the groove, like so. There. So then if you do it right, you're going to have your one opening here for your rings. You're going to have the oil ring where it's separated right there. And then the other oil ring will be over here on this side like so. All right. And then once you have that, you can kind of position this one to where it's going to be over here. And I don't know how well you can see this, but there's writing on the top near the openings of the rings. So those will go to the top towards the piston. They're labeled second and first. So second will go on next. So for this one, we could try to walk it on, but it might actually just be easier to use our ring pliers. And then, okay, come on. Well, we're gonna try to at least. These don't seem to be working all that well, so might just have to do this by hand. That's what it's looking like. So now I want to alternate these, so this will go into this one like so, and then we're going to kind of slowly, gently try and walk this in here. Might have to use those snap ring or those ring pliers, but man, they are just not working very well. So I think what we're gonna do is we'll be right back. I'm gonna see if I can't crimp these down just a little bit more to kind of help. All right, so I crimped these down a little bit more. Let's see if that'll help make it bite better. I think that helped. So again, I got everything right there. And we're gonna carefully pry these open without breaking them. Best as we can here. There we go. And then we'll let that go. And then, oh. Get my glove out of there. Okay, we are good. So now, make sure that this is in there like so. Okay. And then once these are compressed, they'll go in and then they'll touch. Okay, now that we got that one, do that again for this one. Make sure I got the writing up. I do. There we go. Now we did this right, and we did. We got that oil ring right there. That's over that. That one's over there. And this one is right there. The other one is offset. And there you go. That's how you install them, just like that. Now we just got to do that 5 more times. All right, so when you have your pistons set up, you got your rings on here, before you go to put it in the block, you're going to want to put oil around your rings, and then you're also going to want to put oil right here on your pin. Just helps keep it lubricated for that initial startup before the oil gets pumping through the engine. So just make sure you guys put some oil around here and a little bit on the skirts. You don't have to go overboard with it, but you do need to put some oil on there. Another thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to install the connecting rod bearings. So we'll go ahead and take these nuts off of here. And it does matter which direction these go. This tang right here, I don't know if you can see that, is not on this side. There's only one on this side. So when you go to install this, this is actually going to face towards the front of the block. Then on your connecting rod bearings, there's going to be a hole that's going to be located right here. You want to make sure you line that hole up with the hole that's inside of the crank rod itself, or connecting rod, excuse me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to put one of these together, get it ready, then we'll take it over to the block, and then we'll go ahead and install it. And I'll show you how to compress the rings, get it in, get it lined up with the crankshaft, and then what you have to do to protect the cylinder wall and the crank journal itself from getting damaged. So when I install these, I don't put oil on the inside. I know some people do. I don't do that. It's just personal preference. Doesn't really matter. I'm not a master engine builder. I'm just doing this, you know, in my home garage. So take that for what it is. But just want to make sure that you get all the dirt and crud off of here. And then there's going to be a little keyway. You want to make sure that you line that tang up with the connecting rod, and then you're just going to push it down and then get it lined up with that hole that I was just telling you about. Now what I do actually do is I do put some oil right here on the bearing right before I get ready to put it in. I'm not going to do that just yet because it's just going to make a mess. So next, what I like to do, I'm going to take some assembly lube, and then I'm just going to put a little bit on the connecting rod pin, and then just get some inside of here. There's a small little opening on each side to allow the oil to kind of work its way in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, just making sure that, again, when we go to start this up, it's not completely dry, and then all of a sudden you destroy your engine. And then I'll just kind of work it back and forth, make sure it gets inside of there. Again, everyone has their own way of doing it. This is just the way that I'm doing it. So okay, so we got that part lubed up. Now I'm just going to work a little bit of assembly lube in the rings. Some people will just take them and just dip the whole piston inside of a tub of oil, I mean, that's fine. You can do that too. I don't know if that's really necessary. It just seems like a lot of oil, but I'm just working it into the grooves just so when I go to install it into the bore, it's not going to be dry. And then put a little bit on the skirt. And then once you've done that, it's good to just kind of rotate your rings around, kind of work the oil in, and then I'll show you how the rings should be once you're done. So, all right, so now what you're looking for is you got your oil ring here and you got your bottom and top ring. I'm going to take the top oil ring and I just rotate it around to right here. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's going to be opposite. So you're going to see in a minute, you're going to see that these rings are going to be crisscrossed. And I'm going to take this bottom one and I'm going to rotate that one to here. Then what I like to do is I'm going to take the second compression ring and it's going to be right here, which is across from the top oil ring here, so they're crisscrossing. And then the top compression ring will be across from the second one. So that way they're alternating. So you got one here, one there, one over here, and then one over there. That way they're not all lined up. Okay. So now that we have all of this put together, lubed up, we'll go ahead and take this over to the cylinder block and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so now before we go ahead and install the piston, what you're going to want to do is make sure that you put oil inside of the bore. Some people use transmission fluid, some people use regular motor oil. I'm just going to use, again, assembly lube. It's just as good, but you're going to want to get this inside of the bore. Make sure that you don't have anything inside of here that's going to cause you any problems like dirt and debris. And then we're just going to take a somewhat liberal amount of oil, kind of put it in here, and then we're just going to start working it into the cylinder bore, making sure that the whole surface is lubricated. And then we'll add a little bit more, making sure you're working the top part of the bore all the way down to the bottom. If you have small hands, this could be a challenge. If your hands are really big, this might also be a challenge, but just go ahead, put a nice coat of oil inside of here, and this will help you with your assembly. Okay. Then what I like to do, right before I get ready to install the piston, I'm going to put a little bit of oil over here on crankshaft journal. That way it's not dry, because you don't want to be trying to do this after you already got the piston in. It's just not going to work out very well, and you want to have a nice slick surface to mate up on. So I just work the oil back and forth all around here, make sure it's nicely lubricated. You don't have to put a lot, because once you go to tighten this down, most of it's going to get pushed out anyway, so you're just wasting it at that point. But anyways, go ahead, get that lubricated, and and then I'll show you guys what to do next. All right, so we got our piston ready to go. Bore's lubricated. I got the crank itself lubricated, or the crank journal. Now, when you go to put this in, you're going to want to put some guards on the bolts for the connecting rod, because you don't want to gouge up the crankshaft journal or the inside of the bore. When you go to install this, this dot goes to the front of the engine, and then they're also labeled with an L, which means it's for the left side or the right side. So this is the left side of the block, this is the front of it. So we want this dot to be to the front, and then you want the L to be on the left side. Okay, so this is going to be cylinder number 2. This is 4, this is 6, 1, 3, 5. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to get this started, get it lined up, just kind of slide it in here to start with. And then we're not going to go the whole way just yet, but we just want to get it close, because then the next thing we're going to have to do is grab our spring compressor, or piston ring compressor, excuse me, clamp those down, and then we'll be able to push it in. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that the connecting rods are going to line up with the journal, so I'm going to have to give this a turn, get it lined up as close as I can. And this is kind of hard with oil all over the hands, but almost there. All right, so that's pretty close. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our piston ring compressor. I got this one from AutoZone. It's not very expensive. I think it was like 10 bucks, but it'll get the job done. Comes with the tool that you need, or the key, but you go ahead and open it up a little bit, just enough to where it'll fit over the rings. So still, you want to make sure that all of your rings are lined up properly. So that one's good, because after you do this, that's it. You're committed. All right. So then what we're going to do, see if that's big enough, and it is. So I'm going to kind of push this back up just a hair. And right now, all I'm doing is getting it snugged up, just so it doesn't drop back in on me. Okay. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the rings are being compressed in there. They're not getting bound up or kinked. Once you got those in there, you don't have to go super hard with this, but you also want to make sure that you got the compressor flush with the cylinder, because if it's not, you could potentially have a ring that will not line up, and then you're going to be in trouble. All right. So that's all square. Piston will drop in there nice now. So now all I'm going to take is this hammer. I'm not even going to hit it, I'm just going to push on it. And if we did everything right, it should start to just drop right into place. Just like that. sure we don't have any dirt on here. So now we are dropped in, lined up, nice and even. And then go ahead and see if we can do it. Go ahead and turn this just so I have better access to the bolts. Then you can remove your protective caps. All right, so what I was telling you earlier, you want to make sure that this tab right here is going to go towards the front of the engine. And I'll put a little bit of assembly lube on this bearing, and then we're going to go ahead and get this one installed, and then I'll kind of come around and show you guys what it looks like. All right, so the torque on the rod caps are 18 foot-pounds, and then once you have them tightened down to 18 foot-pounds, then you go another 90 degrees past that, and then you're done. So go ahead and bring you around so you can see this a little bit better. These are 12 millimeter, 12 point. So don't try to use a 6-point, it's not going to work. But you'll go ahead and then just kind of work them down evenly. I like to work them back and forth just to make sure I'm getting a nice even seat. And then once they're pretty well snugged down and you verify that you've got the indented or the marked area towards the front, you can go ahead and torque it down. That's 18 right there. And that's 18. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to go about 90 degrees. So all right. That's all there is to it. So as you can see, we got a couple of them done so far. So I already did these ones earlier. This is the one we just installed. So 18 foot-pounds, and then you're just going to go and turn it another 90 degrees on each one of those. Once you've got that tightened down, what you want to do is rotate the crank around, make sure that it rotates freely, it's not binding up. Otherwise you're going to have an issue. So let's go ahead and do that. So because my hands are so oily, I might actually have to push on the counterweights a little bit to make sure that this rotates smoothly, and it is. It's hard to tell just because my hands are so greasy. But you just want to do, one or two complete rotations, making sure that it's moving freely. There you have it. So now if we take a look, there's the first piston, there's the dot, the indent that I was telling you about, that faces towards the front. There's your L, it says that this is the left side. So we'll go ahead and do the last two, and then the bottom end, as far as the pistons and crank are concerned, will be done, and then all I have to do is just get the rest of the oil pump installed and the oil pan and all that. But that's pretty much all there is to getting these pistons back together. And then I also painted the block and then got the new casting plugs in here. I still have to clean this up a little bit and throw a little bit of paint in here, but you'll actually never see that once you have the intake on. But I don't know, we'll see. got it all installed. Looking good. Everything is torqued down properly. 18 foot-pounds, and then another 90-degree turn after that. These are 45 foot-pounds, and then another 90, and you can kind of see the lines that I made to help gauge that. But yeah, it's coming along pretty nicely. Again, I just gotta clean that part up a little bit, but they're all in. All the dots face to the front. Right pistons are on the right side. Left pistons are on the left side. Again, all the dots facing towards the front of the block. So that's how it's done.